Hello.
Hey, Liam.
Hey.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good.
Good. I see Judy's here. Give everybody a chance to come on.
Hey, Judy.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good. Good. You?
Great. I think I've found my mission.
You found what?
My mission,
Oh, what's that?
voter literacy.
Voter illiteracy?
Now, come on, literacy.
Voter literacy. Well, that's an interesting mission, for sure. I don't know much about what that entails, but I can kind of fathom from the phrase. So, excuse me, guys. I'm just like been getting my voice a little bit. I've been talking a lot over the weekend, so hold that thought, Judy. Hey, Davi. Hi, hey. Let me see. We've got Daniela walking. We got Davi setting.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
Say hello. Awesome. So, are you doing your morning exercise while doing the call? That's.
I'm just walking home. It's 11 o'clock in the morning in New York City.
Oh, you're in. I love this time of year in New York.
Right. So beautiful. So I'm just walking home.
Cool.
I'm gonna mute myself because it's very noisy, right?
Okay, cool. All right. So we were talking about voter literacy.
Yeah. Curiously, the domain name was actually available. So it was inspired in part because I was explaining to somebody why polling is not reliable. So I said, I could make a short read out of this, And then I could make a whole series of like little guides and stuff like that. So.
Well, cool. It's definitely a good time of the year, good time of the season, or whatever you want to call it, to go into that. Given we're going to have 97 Democratic candidates going for president this year.
Since 2015, have we ever not had an election season?
No, we've never not had one. But this is the first time I've seen what did Bill Maher say? He goes, it's no longer a race. It's the run with the bulls. It's just going to see who gets trampled on first. It's just it's
it's a new guy, woman is raising their hand every other day. It seems like.
Yeah.
It's like 24 now.
Yeah, should be an interesting spectacle to observe. I'm going to be observing it from Canada, so I think so. Yeah, just because
PNC is going crazy because they can't put all those people in a debate panel.
Well, there's just so much wrong with this. I don't even want to get started in it. So I would keep my morning in a positive.
Okay. Yes.
There's
John in a positive.
Yeah. It's just it's like my good friend and comrade in spirit, Dave Rubin, says, I'm going to be glad when I can call myself a liberal again, but I can't right now. So, they've hijacked that term, so I can't do that. But I'm a classical liberal, very very much so. I took the test, and I'm right here, like literally almost in the dead center. But now I can't even classify myself that way anymore. So,
one of my friends was having some conversations, and so there was a guy from India, and so I was asking him about their elections there, and he was just talking about all the great things that were going on in India.
Yeah, it could be a lot. Our situation could be a lot worse. It's for what a democratic republic stands for. It's about as bad as it could get, as far as before you drift into crazy stuff. When you start talking about taking candidates off state ballots and overriding the Constitution by diswriting the Electoral College, all that kind of stuff. I mean, those are all interesting conversations to have. Like the Electoral College is a great conversation to have. You have to, since they're not willing to amend the Constitution, you got to look at what the trickery now that some of these states, California's already passed it. So, in order to get people off of voting ballots, so that's not democracy anymore. That's just not, that's. I don't ever. I'd have to look back in history. I'd have to. I don't. My American history pretty much is kind of more. I love like older history, like world history, but my American history starts in the 1700s early. So, and kind of in that whole era is where I studied the most. But I don't think it's ever been done before. I mean, I could be wrong there. If I'm wrong, somebody just correct me. But I don't think.
Well, I think I don't know about that, but I think one of the things, I was watching one of these documentaries on Amazon Prime, and it was a kind of a third party screed. They had Ralph Nader on there and so forth, and it was just to the extent, and I think this is also true. I mean, one of the things that was enlightening to me about the 2016 is how rather undemocratic the primaries are. It's like, seriously? Everybody doesn't vote? Like, no, they have these caucuses and stuff. It's like, and the caucuses are run by the, how do you get to be on the caucus? Well, you have to be active in the party and get, sent there. I mean, this is not democratic.
It's kind of crazy. There's lots of holes in the system, but I would, shifting the topic only slightly. I've been an advocate of voting online for years. Then again, I'm an advocate of doing everything online. I was talking about grocery shopping online back in 1997, which people thought was nuts. I was like, no, this is going to happen one day. I mean, I couldn't foresee Amazon, but God, I mean, can anyone foresee Amazon, right? But I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to shop online one day. We're going to, and it's like, no, there's just no way that'll ever happen. And then the whole thing was, no, you'll never bank online because there'll nobody to be secure enough. And, so why can't we freaking vote online? I mean, so it's just, I don't know, man. I'm left scratching my head on like, I get it. I know that people would have security issues, but you certainly can't make that argument for what's going on, what's reported and documented, verified, what's going on in polling booths and people, people who aren't even citizens getting to vote. That's just it borders on absurdity at this point. So I'm like, you can prove I think there's a system that somebody gets that I could prove you are, and so many more people would vote. I mean, I hate to say it, but most people don't vote because they're lazy. That's really it. I mean, if they could vote by pushing a few buttons and legitimate, I'm talking about like, no, let's pretend in a perfect world that we had the technology figured out that I will make one political statement here and that's it. You guys can debate me kindly, of course, because I believe in civil debate, but I believe that could call me constitutionally crazy, but only citizens should be allowed to vote. I know that's crazy, right? Why should we allow Russian interference and then not allow non-citizens to vote? That doesn't make any sense, right?
Wild concept.
What a concept. So I know it's nutty. And it's but only citizens of the country should vote. I can't vote in Israel's elections. I can't vote in if they had elections in China. But call me stupid, but that sounds only reasonable to me. And the only people pushing that are people with nefarious agendas, period. There's no positive agenda for this at all. And for someone not to just stand up and go, that's complete and utter bullshit. You're simply wanting this to happen because that demographic slants towards your party. I'm not a partisan, so it's like it's just a nonsense. I don't care if everyone in Russia was to vote. Let's say I'm not a Republican, but say I was, and everyone in Russia was to vote for my guy. I wouldn't want Russians to vote in our elections. That's just an absurd thing, right? So if we can't even agree on those kind of basic things, we'll never get to the point where we can have online voting or on my phone, which, I mean, so many more people would vote. We would get a much more democratic look at how this republic should be ran, I think. that's my opinion. I'm not saying it would be perfect, but our current situation is not perfect, so that's not a valid argument. I think tech has a better ability to be. We're manually counting votes in the current year, right? Just insert current year here. They're manually tallying. I mean, how accurate can that be? I mean, there has to be some sort of not manually, but you literally, I mean, you guys have all voted, I'm sure, at least if you're in the United States, and you actually go in and write stuff down, and push. I'm kind of.
Well, I use a mail-in ballot, so,
Yeah. Well, I have to use a mail-in ballot because I'm usually not in the country at the time. But the point being is that we should make it a lot easier. And I don't know why that isn't being pushed by both parties. It's especially by the Democratic Party. You would think, because younger people tend to slant toward technology. Why are they so wrapped up in allowing illegal citizens to vote? That's just absurd. That's like
I'm not even hooked into that argument, so I haven't.
Legal citizens. I mean, it's like I live part time in Canada. So I'm not a legal citizen of Canada. I can't vote in Canadian elections. I've never asked to vote, but I live almost half the year in Canada. So you could make the argument that I'll eventually have dual citizenship, but until I do, I can't vote in the Canadian elections. But I spend half my time there. So why can't I? I can't. I've never made that. I would never make that argument because it's damn silly. It's just because I actually employ people in Canada. I don't pay any taxes because my business is obviously digital. It's worldwide, so I don't have a nexus anywhere. But yeah, I don't take care. I don't use the healthcare system in Canada. It's like I've every single time I've been to the doctor in Canada, I've paid out of pocket for it, and that's the cost of the problem of living there. Anyone, you're American, aren't you, Brennan?
Yeah, I'm American. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you manage living in Australia? I want to hear if anyone's living overseas. I know Davi does, but I'm pretty sure you're native.
What way? Well, so we haven't been. We traveled heaps, but we haven't. This is the longest we've lived in one place, and we're going to be here for a while. So, but we don't vote because absentee ballots aren't even counted unless there's a tie. So unless there is a tie, like in the regular polls, like unless there's a tie, they don't even count the absentee ballots.
In the United States or no?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, they count them. They
do
just count
here.
them later. They count them for the statistics, but later.
Wow. Did not know that. Learn something. Well, okay. That's.
I mean, there's no need to count them if
And then
My vote has been.
health cover. Health cover is, so they have like a socialized health cover here. So private insurance is dirt cheap. So we're paying $100 a month for two people for about double the coverage that we got in the States with my shitty full-time job.
Are you serious? Now, and that's so.
$100 a month.
Wow.
$100 a month for two of us. And we have like out of pocket is like $450 a year. And so we're covered for ER. We can go and that's like that's their most basic private insurance plan. We got
That's Australia?
In Australia, yeah.
Wow. Well, you would think that Australia is not known for its socialist policies. And I joke, but I say socialist.
No, yeah.
But Canada doesn't have that. Canada, I'm going to get travelers insurance this time around, but they don't have.
Yeah.
they don't have what?
They don't have anything that will cover you like that.
Well, because it's socialized medicine. Actually, they do. You could buy private insurance that covers things that the Canadian insurance doesn't cover, like eye care or dental care. Things like that.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as like a full. It's actually interesting in Israel. By the way, I'm not Israeli. I'm actually American and Canadian.
Okay. Oh, you're Canadian, eh?
Yeah.
Where have I not picked this up for? So, okay, you're just living in Israel?
Yeah, I've been here for the past like 3.5 years, or almost maybe close to 4 years, and I moved here on a layover, if you could believe that.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was living in Austria, and on my way home, like I was flying to New York City through Tel Aviv, and I just was like, oh, why not here? And I got off, I skipped my flight.
I've never heard anyone say that about Israel. I mean, usually people go there because it's like, well, my friend Reese lives there, and she's she went there because she married a rabbi. There were reasons to get, you know, but yeah, it's very interesting. She wants me to come visit. I've never been. I really want to go. So
It's a fantastic place. If you ever come here, I'll show you around.
oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard. I mean, I'm a big diver, so of course I want to, you know.
Well, the diving is better in Egypt, I have to say.
Well, that's okay. Well, yeah, I have
But,
no desire to go to Egypt, man. I
No,
don't.
but all of
Do not do
You have a
well.
Christian background. There's so much history here in Christianity aside from the nature of other history.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
Culture,
Yeah. I mean, there's just. I mean, it's one of the most. Well, obviously, it's like one of the meccas of history. To take a visit, but do you know Reese? I'll send you her contact. You guys can connect.
Sure. For sure, know people in common.
Yeah. I mean, she. You know,
Where in Israel do you live, Doug?
I live in Tel Aviv.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. When you say Egypt is the diving, is that like the Gulf of Aqaba then?
The Gulf of Aqaba is basically the same as Israel's coral, but the further south you go in the Sinai, the better it gets. So the best is probably Dahab or Sharm el Sheikh.
Well,
Very vibrant coral there. But the way the health stuff works in Israel is that there's socialized medicine, but it's done through private companies. So there's 3 or 4 private insurance companies that have to offer a certain basic coverage. And you could basically just choose whichever private company you want to be with. So I'm with an organization called Maccabi, right? So I have to go to Maccabi doctors or doctors who accept the Maccabi insurance. And then on top of that, I could buy better Maccabi coverage, and then that's all covered just because I pay taxes. But you can also go completely private. So there's doctors that go completely private as well, and you can get better service that way. So it's kind of like a mixture between private and public. But even the public is sort of done private. It's just funded by the government, and they have to offer a certain basket of services.
do you know I know that Canada offers travelers insurance, but it's pretty much, you know, for traumatic things like ER and stuff like that.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of. So hey, I look at that. Derek's got a background.
Yeah.
He's managed to pull out. Hello, Derek. What's going on?
Hawaii.
Is that Hawaii, man? Where are we at, Derek?
Yeah, it is Hawaii.
Okay, we're
And heads up, next weekend I will be in Bora Bora, so I'm not sure if I'll be on the next 2 calls or not.
Oh, okay.
Bora Bora.
The final 2, huh? So, well, yeah, the final 2 is all just Q&A, and I'm kind of concerned, given the last couple of weeks, is like we might be sitting there staring at each other. So we might just do the final 2 calls. It's just this kind of stuff where we're just chatting and talking and asking, you know, just a round robin questions, because, you know, after today, you're going to be like, okay, I've had enough. So I'm going to tap out after today. But today's
I
actually.
think maybe people might have a few. I was thinking about that too. But once it's all like done and we're able to digest it, we might have some questions. I know typically at the end of the lesson, my brain is just like, well, I need like 5 hours with this. Right.
Yeah. It's tough to download years of stuff into weeks, especially, you know, and this staff and I have talked about, you know, this thing being too long, and it was like, we should do it in 4 weeks, and there's just no way. I mean, if I had to cram everything we were doing into, in other words, take our Friday sessions and make those another, your heads would break, you know? And so I think my head would have broken. So it's just too much, but
that's a suggestion.
Yeah.
If
open to it.
If the last 2 classes are just Q&A,
Uh-huh.
Maybe people would want to do it well after the 3rd to last class, or maybe like a month or 2 later, give us time to like play around with things and write down questions, and then there'll be more time for that.
I'm open to that. I'm open to, because I knew that what I usually have happen at the end of various trainings, it's the first time I've ever done copyright or blueprint, but I've done tons of, you know, 8-week courses and stuff like that. And sometimes there's just, all people want to do is like do hot seats and masterminds and stuff like that. And that's pretty much why I gauged it that way. But yeah, I'm open to doing it. I'm open to doing it. Like we could do it a month later, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, I'll let, hey, how about this? We'll have a vote, and we'll actually do this in a democratic process. So Judy can run the vote. I'm just kidding. Judy can
Can I
count
bring
all
it
the ballots in
outside the
mysterious
class?
corners. So,
Will
uh,
my vote count from overseas?
your vote will count, sir.
Okay.
Will
Thank
count,
you.
but only because you're truly an American. I'm just
Tell me I matter. Validate me.
John Benson country, and voting was, your
yeah,
eligibility was your
yeah.
presence here. So
We don't accept Italians. We don't accept Canadian. No, so
Oh my goodness.
we're all one big happy world in our copywriter blueprint here. So yeah, it's like, except for those Polish people. Nah, fuck those. Yeah, so everybody's welcome. We've got people from all walks of life and ethnicities and backgrounds. I'm so fascinated by Davi's story about just arriving in Tel Aviv and going, yeah, I think I'll stay here for a while. I mean, I do the same thing, but I've never done it like to that degree. I guess the most bold I've been was, yeah, let's move to France for a year. So that was kind of, but it's France. I mean, it's not exactly, it's culturally different, but it's not as different as Israel would be different. That would be very different. I mean,
Well, I had been here before. It was my 9th time in Israel.
Oh, okay. So okay.
Oh, okay. So you didn't just like rock up and be like, okay, here's good.
No, I was actually on my way home. I just finished my master's in Vienna, and then I was looking for flights back to North America, and the flights were, for some reason that time, were just obscenely expensive. Normally you could probably fly for 400 euros, and here I was just finding things above 1,000 euros just to go one way. I mean, no matter how I booked it, one way round trip, and anywhere in Europe to anywhere in like the East Coast, North America, Toronto, New York, Montreal, it didn't matter. It was just super expensive. It's like, well, for that price, I'll just go to Asia for a few months and then fly when it's cheaper and break even.
Great.
And I found a cool flight through Latin America, but I missed it. But yeah, then I found a flight for $200 from Tel Aviv to New York.
oh wow.
So that's my flight. And then I flew to Tel Aviv, and I had like a couple days here, and I was just like, all right.
I mean, all the signs and everything. I mean, people speak English, they speak Hebrew, they speak Arabic. I mean, the signs are like in triple, so it's pretty easy to get around.
To get around, yes, but not to deal with banks or insurance or doctors or anything else.
I've heard that from Reese. I mean, she's from New York and she moved there, but I mean, and she speaks fluent Hebrew though. But I mean, she didn't when she first got there. And
everyone here speaks English except for hotlines. Like no one you speak to at an office, a doctor's office.
Right. Yeah. You better speak Hebrew, right?
Like they look for the people who don't speak English.
Yeah.
Hebrew is sort of a manufactured language. It was only a spiritual language up until like the last couple centuries.
Well, for a manufactured language, I remember having to study it in college and I suck at languages. I mean, it's just one of those things where my brain does not, I don't know why, how on earth it can dissect other things, but just can't for whatever reason. I mean, I've lived in countries, I've lived in Mexico, I've lived in France, and I can't speak Spanish or French. I mean, I can speak it like this much, like literally a few phrases. And I'm 2 degrees in music and I still can't read music. So it's just something about, it's like being immersed into years of this and still not being able to figure that out.
Can I recommend you try a certain thing?
Yeah.
Are you good at songs, like remembering songs and lyrics?
Musician.
Well, the lyrics part of it, like meaning if you just put on a radio.
Have you ever seen my YouTube? I've got a whole channel where well, not a channel, but like a whole.
Oh, you sing? You have a YouTube singing channel?
No, I'm a bass player. Yeah. So if I can remember every note of a bass line that's really complex, I could definitely remember lyrics. So yeah, it's not a memory issue. It's like
there's a guy. His name is Michelle Thomas. I believe he fought with John McCain in Vietnam. That's besides the point. He's a language coach, and he has this method that I can only describe it like a song, where you don't really listen to a song, but just by hearing it gets in your head.
Right.
His method for teaching languages is basically like that. He puts the onus of the learning on himself as the teacher, and he says all you have to do is listen, and you will learn. You don't have to like really practice it or think about it too much. So I started learning Spanish with him until I went traveling and I just couldn't deal with so many languages. And then eventually I learned German for my time in Austria just by listening to his MP3s for like 3 months. And I'm really not good with languages at all.
Wow. I'll definitely check that out. Yeah.
Why don't I write it in the chat here?
Yeah, would you please? Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
tried Rosetta Stone with Russian, but Russian is so. And by the way, I mean I've taken all of these different language classes, and I might be able to say, se habla español, that.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
No, this is
Uh,
better than Rosetta Stone.
huh?
It's better than Rosetta Stone or Duolingo or any of those. I tried to learn Korean with Duolingo. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, for Russian, Rosetta Stone, I mean, the grammar in Russian, it was just like there were some things where you're supposed to figure this out, and it's like you could not actually remember it without knowing more about the grammar. And Rosetta Stone says, well, you don't need to know the grammar. And I mean, Russian is just, they don't have prepositions. It's a very weird language.
Complicated language. Yeah. Beautiful language, though. I think one of the most beautiful. Yeah. So anyone else fluent other languages? I see other people have come on here. You see, hey, Tim.
Hey, John.
Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You guys all on? We're talking, just talking junk here, man. Talking smack. But languages here. Michelle Thomas, thanks. I appreciate that. That's really cool. I'll check that out.
He only teaches himself 4 languages: French, Spanish, Italian, and German.
Okay.
Other people do in his style, but if you want to go with him, there's those 4.
Yeah, that's
can you drop me
British.
that link too, please, Dobby? I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I
there
put it
is.
in the chat here.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
If you want, I can write it in the group so it's there permanently.
That is good.
Yeah, it'd be helpful to learn Spanish for sure.
Languages
That's
are,
so good.
they're so interesting though. I mean, and then when you get into linguistics too, but that's a whole nother plant. But like Arabic, I mean, Arabic is
Yeah.
really, it's like this, practically this mathematical language. It's like everything is like either 3 parts. And
Yeah, very complex. My ex-fiance was from Baghdad, so obviously she spoke Arabic, and yeah, I mean, she tried to teach me some Arabic, and it was like 10 times worse than trying to teach me French. So I was like, no, I'm not going there. I mean, I can't do it, man. It's like my brain would not want to go there. But it's a very interesting language. I mean, when you hear it spoken, it is mathematical, and she spoke very broken English. When she got here, she was a refugee. So I mean, she was an actual refugee from the her terrible violence done to her family.
Wow.
Really horrible. And just such a sweet girl. And so she got here and learned English in 8 months.
Wow.
I'm like,
Whoa.
okay.
That's amazing.
Like you do, I mean, like I spoke no English when she got off the plane. And so
That's amazing.
so yeah, so just okay.
Yeah, the Arabic is supposed to be like the hardest language, and Russian is second. So.
Yeah, well, it's definitely complicated. I think Chinese would rank up there, just various Mandarin or whatever, but just because of all the inflections you have to do. I don't know if it's the same.
Oh, tonal languages. Yeah, that's a whole other.
Yeah, just like, oh gosh, it's like, it's hard to believe that humans could, when people have an issues with like how did we get so diverse, and you would think that just if you look at just a few thousand years of evolution from two completely different land masses, 6,000 to 8,000 years tops, if you want to go that far. In that period of time, you've gotten completely different language structures. I mean, like night and day different language structures. Like it's just, yeah, it's pretty remarkable when you think about how cool that is, just by being separated by oceans and land masses. I mean, can you imagine what that would be like separated by planets? I just can't. I hope that in my lifetime we find out. That's my hope. I definitely have a hope for that.
I hope we soon will.
I hope we soon will, man. I'm holding out hope for that. I'm still holding out hope for the Vulcan ship landing on the White House lawn, saying, "Hey, time out." Yeah, that's me.
But there's the other idea, which is that there are other dimensional beings, right? I mean, I've heard that rationale for Yeti and so forth.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that rationale a bit too close. I'll put it that way. It was a belief held on to by my ex-wife, and but it was because she's Californian, she naturally took it into the woo-woo environment, which made it twice as bad. So, and so you're dealing with somebody that desperately wants alien life to be, I'm that one, and completely understand the mathematics of dimensional, well, I say completely understand that that's possible. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, that's not impossible, that's just ridiculous. No, we know there are multiple, we know there's 11, if not 22, but definitely 11 dimensions mathematically. So if you go, its fifth dimension is where they're going with this, right? The problem is simple math and physical tell you can't communicate with that, right? It's like you living in a 2D world communicating with it. You have no concept of what 3D would even look like, except maybe in maths, right? But you can't look up because there is no up. So it's hard. I can't wrap our heads around it. But yeah, that's completely possible. The whole multiverse thing is very intriguing. I mean, that's
John, did you happen to see or be aware of a recent, within the last 2 or 3 months, cover of National Geographic that flat out stated we are not alone?
No.
Because several years back, however many years back, one of their covers said, "Are we alone?" And that this is the follow-up to that. And it was basically just what you were just saying about mathematically, it's almost impossible there is not life somewhere else in the universe.
Well, sure,
Around
yeah.
the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a clickbaity headline. I mean, I get that, I get where it's going, and so mathematically, it's as close to impossible as impossible can be.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, there's a lot of distance issues, and there's so many interesting thoughts of this. If anyone else is interested in this stuff, it's been fascinating to me since I was a kid. But talking to actual real guys that are looking, not just SETI guys, but guys like Peter Diamandis is a friend of mine, and what Peter's team is doing, and how invested they are in, and just they're interested in mining asteroids, for example, landing rockets on mining asteroids, but also on space in general. And we've had long discussions about like what's the odds are astronomically high that's not possible, but it's also astronomically high that we'd ever know, just given the vast distances in space. Yeah. And the way that if you look at how stars form and how evolution works in general, the stars that would be far enough away to have developed life, if life evolves on the same continuum, that's a big if, right? Mm-hmm. Then they'd be so far away that in millions of years in advance of us, if they survived it, that it would be next to impossible to find them. But there's all sorts of different theories on that. There's all sorts of different, if you look back at what scientists, some of the best scientists and scientific minds in the world were saying about air travel, in the 1800s, or space travel in the early 1900s, about how it was absolutely impossible. The laws of physics.
Cars.
Yeah, cars.
So go past more than 30 miles an hour, you'll die.
Exactly. Yeah, all that stuff was if you there's a website dedicated to it to show that and obviously this isn't consensus science. It's more like guys that are very, very intelligent, way up, Harvard kind of guys, saying things that they were just wrong about. And Einstein was wrong about quantum mechanics. He was just wrong. So it was like, it's okay to be wrong about something and absolutely be a genius. I mean, Jesus, you look how wrong probably the smartest person ever lived is Isaac Newton. I mean, certainly up there in the IQ. And Isaac Newton was completely wrong about, obviously, alchemy. He was an alchemist of a very laughable type. And completely wrong about the orbit of Mercury. I mean, so this is one of I'll say the smartest person who's ever lived. They're going to be wrong, and that kind of lacks into what we were saying last week. If you get wrapped up in perfection or a technique and copy that has to work all the time, you're going to be very disappointed, because it's just nothing like that. It just doesn't work that way. We're all going to be wrong, and that makes it easier to accept. And but anyway, back to the alien thing. Right now, the consensus is that we cannot travel faster than light.
Right.
I'm convinced that we just don't know that we're wrong.
Yeah, I would go along with that. I mean, it's just like what you were saying. They said, "Gee, there was nothing else to learn," right? Well,
right.
We have Dawkins saying that now. We're just filling in the details. Well, I don't buy it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I think Dawkins. Well, there was Sean Carroll. I don't know if you guys are. Raise your hands if this is a boring topic for you, but we'll change it. But Sean Carroll is a theoretical physicist and a super nice guy. I had the pleasure of chatting with him on Skype just because I'm kind of a weird freak about this stuff, and I wanted to ask him questions. This is right after the big what we'll say right after all the most recent mappings of the cosmic microwave background CMB. That's the mathematical proofs that we were now able to photograph of Big Bang expansion theory. And so I was asking, what are these dark areas? What's going on there? And it's like, we don't know. It's like, it's a good question. Like, what the hell is going on there? So a lot of the questions you'll ask these guys is, we don't know. But Sean's very famous for saying, like, when it comes down to particle physics, we know. We absolutely know. We know the particles. There are no more. He's like, this is it. There's no more. As far as interacting with humans, as far as like discovering of new particles, oh yeah, we'll discover, like, if we ever figure out what dark matter is, probably all sorts of, but they won't interact with our particles, meaning there's nothing that we don't know about that interacts with our particles. And so to hear him explain this, it's like kind of mind-boggling. But it echoes back to that, there's nothing new to learn here. And somebody asked him that once in a lecture. He goes, isn't that kind of the same thing? He goes, no, this is just simple. To him, it's simple. It's just simple physics, because this is it. It's like saying, and he said, we're not going to discover that water isn't H2O. We're not going to discover that there's an extra helium atom attached that we didn't see before, or some other particle attached to it that makes water water. We know what makes water water. It's like, as much as we can know what 2 + 2 is in our or something
that destroys the Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
Right. Yeah. So that whole thing is interesting, to say the least. And I think a lot of woo physicists, i.e. Deepak Chopra, has taken the Heisenberg thing, and especially the Copenhagen take on quantum mechanics, which is not a really good idea on, if you're going to base your whole religious beliefs on 1930s physics, you're going to be in for probably a sore disappointment, but in a bad interpretation of 1930s physics. But it's a very fascinating thing when you think about, like, that the observer changes reality, and then Deepak has just ran with this, just saying, oh, you'll create your own reality. No, that's not what he's saying. It's like, that's clearly not what's being said. What's
double slot experiment.
Yeah, with the slit experiment, and there's other things, but that's been replicated numerous times now, and that's not what position means when a physicist says it. And so it's just kind of weird, or what they have different language, and it's like you have to dig deep into understanding it. And it's okay for us to say we don't know, but we're pretty damn sure it ain't that. And that's how Victor Stenger explained it before he died. It's like, he's a quantum physicist, and he goes, yeah, when you start talking quantum mechanics, he goes, most of us, including quantum physicists, we don't know. Most of the answers are we don't know, but we can tell you what it isn't. We can pretty much tell you what it ain't that. So it's pretty funny hearing these guys talk. It's like, can't understand half of what they're saying, but it sure is intriguing. It's spooky. I mean, Einstein was very famous for calling this spooky physics. It is spooky in the sense that it's just bizarre. I mean, it's just, we can't even in our day-to-day lives wrap our minds around what all that means. But in that, I think, so I'll say this, I'll kick this off to one of you guys to talk about this. I think this is the big problem in humankind in general, is that we'll hear something like, for example, someone will say things like, and this is not true, by the way, but we have no idea, we could not replicate the pyramids today. Well, this is patently false, because they've done it in Las Vegas. And to a much more accurate, it's actually much more, because they're not stones. I mean, so I don't know who came up with that idea, but it got around. It's like, oh, so therefore aliens. So when we draw these non sequitur conclusions, I'm going to lap this back into copy, guys. Trust me, watch me do this. It's no different than saying, oh, this headline worked because this one word is different than this other word. Unless you split test it, you don't know.
Even then, you don't really know.
You don't know. You have no. So when BSLs, when I started BSLs, everyone wanted to know why they worked, and I just remember just going down this long litany, this long list of reasons why I think it works, and I'm pretty sure that's the truth. I'm pretty sure we know why it works, but do we really know? I mean, can we? It could be like some weird thing. I mean, who knows? I don't know. But I can say, yeah, with all probability it works because, you know, A, you're being force fed every word of a sales page where you normally you scan, all that kind of stuff. B, you've got different modalities of learning, so you're hearing as well as you're reading. All those things are valid, right? And perfectly valid. When I say, however, and this is what people have said, it's like, therefore sales pages are dead. Ryan Dice is famous for saying that. Now, he is a marketer and he knew that. He actually thought that was true for a little while, that he thought traditional sales pages are dead and they're gone. They're history. They're just never going to be replicated. And like, Ryan, I've never said that. I've never believed that. I never thought that. I still write them. They're still functional. I think that they're not going to beat on average a VSL when it comes to selling a slightly higher dollar product. If you're selling a $97 supplement or whatever, you better use a VSL. If you're selling to cold traffic, you're going to do better with a VSL. But generally speaking, but yeah, we have to take things a little bit open-ended. So blueprints and laws are great, but sometimes they're made to be broken, and that's what's really tough. Like, yeah, like direct mail is dead. How many times, you know, my friend Brian Kurtz, he's like, I'm so glad that people were saying that for years because he was making a bloody fortune in direct mail. And Caleb O'Dowd, if you guys know Caleb,
yeah,
guys running $100 million freaking business off direct mail, not just direct mail, off of newspaper ads.
yeah.
Crazy, man. I mean, so everything can work if there's that saying, everything works if you let it, right? But yeah, but as far as getting back to aliens, how many of you believe that that we're going to see aliens for real, not like cover up conspiracy bullshit? I mean, like actual, like, yeah, these guys landing a spacecraft, getting out and saying, hi guys, you know, live long and prosper, you know, whatever they say. Hopefully not getting out with ray guns and blowing us all to hell. But any beliefs, any thoughts on that?
There'll be more proof than we have now.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, let's go beyond like evidence and get to, okay, this actually just, we're watching this happen, like, you know, well, I would say like watching Neil Armstrong step on the moon, but we all know that there are the marketers in the world that are completely fucking insane. One guy I'm thinking of in particular, can anyone guess that they believe we never walked on the moon? But yeah, so
I don't know which marketer.
So you've never visited NASA before, and you've never taken a physics class. But yes, yeah, there's lots of people that believe we never walked on the moon. So, but let's just bypass those people. Pet them on the head. The world is not really flat. And go to the, yeah, okay. So like, in other words, we had cameras on the White House lawn, and you know, assuming they're the Alex Joneses of the world, we're not saying it's a cover up, that we're seeing this happen for real right in front of our eyes, right? I'm asking you guys, do you think that will happen in our lifetimes? And granted, our lifetimes is a little bit vague considering some of you guys are in your 20s and, you know,
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, me too.
I thought you were 32. So
All right, what do you say?
I said I thought you were 32.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
think so.
stopped aging at 39. That's my theory.
That's great.
I just draw the line right there. So.
That sounds like a new book. Actually, you should come out with that program.
Yeah.
I haven't aged a day since 39.
That's right. So fit over 40. I'm going backwards. Fit over 30. Yeah.
Benjamin Button, the diet.
Yeah.
4-day aging diet.
Yeah.
De-aging.
Can you post your sciatica solution in the group? I know some people are going to
Snooze is
send that too.
finished. Yeah. You know, this is just laziness on my part. I was going to film it here in Santa Barbara. And then when our house got sold out from underneath us, it's like, oh, well, crap, there went that. So yeah, I'm going to have to film it in Vancouver. So as soon as I film it, I'll definitely post it. And that's going to be a free offer. It's going to be a pay what you can kind of thing. I just want to do it to help people.
Right.
Because, oh my God, yeah. I mean, sciatica is I mean, I know teenagers with sciatica. I mean, it's like, yeah, I don't know how sciatica got branded as something that deals with age, but it has nothing to do with age at all. It's very painful. You guys, anyone ever had sciatica?
Mhm.
Davi, you have?
No, but I know at least 2 people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
just
don't
know
have-
they sit for weeks with their legs up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I sat for months with just bending with my legs crossed and trying to bend my leg down to stretch that piriformis out. And there's just nothing you can do until I figured out what you could do. So yeah, I have no sciatic pain at all anymore. So, but it took 3 months.
You know, Goscue?
No.
Okay. Yeah, because I was turned on to this by an Australian physician who I guess was turned on to it by Tony Robbins.
Oh, really?
And, you know, one day I just had really, really bad hip pain. I mean, I was like in bed for 10 days. It was like I could barely make it to the kitchen. And I just started doing some of the Egoscue exercises and some other exercises too, but I think mainly the Egoscue. But it's basically a postural realignment thing.
Yeah. Some of it does deal with posture, and believe it or not, what my just listening to and studying, which I've studied for years, you know, kinesiology anyway, but looking at talking to PTs and talking to people I got out of the realm of anything related to doctors and more into trainers, physical therapists, guys that work with athletes, guys I know and trust, people that know yoga, but not that are the woo yoga people that actually know what they're doing when they're doing their yoga stuff. So as you can tell, I'm very anti-woo. So sorry. If that's not leaking out, let me just say that right now. I love the mystery of life. I have no idea what the answers are, but I am definitely not woo. That was my biggest problem in my marriage, and I will not ever go
mysteries of what?
So,
You love the mysteries of what?
I love the mystery of life. I like the
life.
I don't know answers. I love it when anyone says, you know what, the beginning of wisdom is the phrase I do not know. So the answer is I don't know. But what I'm pretty convinced of is if you're thinking it's the fifth dimensional aliens calling you to a higher spiritual plane, you're probably fucking wrong. I'll go out on a limb and say you're probably fucking wrong. So evidence, please. But anyway, but back to the sciatica stuff. I just wanted to look at, you know, all the science of it, and ended up posture being very important. But the weirdest possible thing, rhomboid muscles. Who would have ever thought? I mean, the pulling muscles that you use to pull, like for example, rear deltoids, rhomboids, back in the middle part of your back, has a huge part to do with that, and that would be posture. So that pulls your shoulders back, right? Yeah, that has a huge part to do with it, and static tension, like creating a lot of causing the nerves to fire off. It's not hard. It's like 10 minutes a day, but it works. Everyone I've given it to works. So.
Yeah. Egoscue is more like the exercises are not real. They're more positions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like you hold these positions for a certain period of time. Now some of those will take some time, because like I was sitting there like with you know, for 30 minutes with my leg up on a block, right?
Oh yeah.
30 minutes for the other one, but it worked. You know, I mean, it took like 10 days before the pain went away. But
sure. No, this is not overnight for sure. I mean, this is like it takes a good about 10 days for you start noticing a difference. Well, you start noticing pretty much the difference right away, but where it's a big difference. But there's just not jack all you can do for this. I mean, it's like I don't take opioids, so I mean, nerve pain is pretty much relegated to opioids, and I don't do them. So, you know, the Toradol can work, but it's give you somebody to get a prescription of that injectable that works, but that's not a long-term solution. So it's major pain if you've ever dealt with it. So, and the other thing that this healed was back pain entirely. So I used to just have terrible back pain. So,
that's fabulous.
Lots
to see it, John.
Lots of spurs, lots of stuff from, just I did so many aggressive sports and still do. I still bodybuild. So I squatted yesterday. It's not easy at 55 getting underneath the squat bar. It's just not. No matter, even if you're never been hurt and never, let alone with my concatenate of like 3 knee surgeries and bone spurs on the back that look like. My chiropractor looked at me and goes, I don't even see how you're walking. Let alone, it's like lifting is like, are you crazy? So yeah, to get rid of that pain, that's pretty significant. So if anybody wants it, I'll be happy to give it, obviously, because I'm going to give it away for free. Just pay what you can, kind of thing. So if you need it. And to parlay back in what we're saying, will this work for everyone? No, because nothing works for everyone. But yeah, works for most people. I'd love to find something where anyone know anything that works for everyone except breathing?
Water.
Water.
Think of something.
Yeah, water, liquids. Yeah, I know a guy that went without. Well, he didn't go without liquids, but he went out without water for a year. So he drank like. So he drank other things, and they were still liquids. I mean, still had water in it. So it's like, I don't even know why he did it.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you look at our vegetables, I mean, how much of the vegetables is water, right?
About 80%, 90%. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, a lot of water. It's yeah. So when the aliens do get here, the first thing they're going to do is take away our water. They're going to turn the frogs gay, take away our water. That's what they're going to do. It's an Alex Jones joke. So it's so funny because Alex Jones, I never watch his show just because I just can't get past his voice. And I'm not into conspiracy. I don't think he's anywhere near as dangerous as people. I think he's pretty much just kind of a useful idiot, but entertaining. From what I understand, but he's been right about some things that, like, I don't know. Did you guys hear about that? This is freaky science. Okay, he was talking about people in China putting human DNA inside monkeys to kind of create basically a sentient monkey. And of course, it was conspiracy theory nonsense. Well, actually, no. This actually came out in legitimate news 2 days ago. That. Very disturbing news from China that they have actually done this. They have actually successfully implanted a human genes, part of the genome that's responsible for advanced brain development. And some of the monkeys died. I said this is terrible because I love monkeys, so let's don't get me started on that. But the ones that lived have showing it radically increased memory retention, and you can see how this is going into Planet of the fucking Apes, right? I mean, this is like, have you never watched Planet of the Apes? I mean, it's like, come on, it's like completely going in that direction. But, and they're wanting more advanced studies. So the scientist in me is like fascinated by this. Like, you know, of course we could figure out more about how we evolved and all this stuff, but it's still kind of scary, right? I mean, a talking monkey, or can you imagine how that could go really wrong? Anyone have any thoughts on that? This is so much more fun than what I'm going to talk about in 10 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing for me is just everything that China is doing. I mean, they are, so poised to take over the world, and with their the way that they track people is just no, thank you.
Well, you've got a collective group, and one of my dearest friends is Chinese socialist, and we've had this conversation ad nauseum. You take one of the groups of people who collectively have some of the highest IQs on the planet, who have a work ethic that's outrageous, that's just amazing, and you take away any sort of what we would call Western ethics when it comes down to certain standards. Like they have extremely high ethics in family and all that stuff, but not so much into things that we would deal with medicine ethics. Can we experiment with sticking a human brain in a monkey? Sure. It's like they don't have that filter, and so they're going to make some massive advances, and also they have just massive numbers of people. So it's like, yeah, I could totally see it in China taking.
Well, it's interesting that even with that, and I remember watching this show where they talked about all the stuff about that they were doing with bioengineering, which is
yeah.
But I mean, they did get on this guy for the twins, right? That he put in the gene for HIV.
Right. Yeah.
Which is actually surprising that they actually censored, or what. I mean, I think they did more than censor that poor guy.
Well, I'm don't get me started on. I'm 100% free speech. I wrote my thesis on Thomas Jefferson, so tells you where I stand on things related to our freedoms. So I am appalled by any state or government that would restrict those freedoms in any way. That being said, the good news, and I don't know if this is where that's going, but keep an eye on the clock over here. Did you guys hear about they may have a cure for AIDS, like a legitimate bona fide cure for AIDS? Yeah. So this just came out 2 days ago.
2 days ago? I heard one a couple weeks ago, which was, it is a cure, but it's like there are lots of different conditions that have to be true.
Yeah, well, this is much more. Yeah, check it out from 2 days ago. It's like it's a very good news. Although AIDS did not turn out to be the illness that remember back when this first came out. How, if anyone was alive back then, I was like, this is going to be the disease that takes out humanity. It's going to spread like crazy. Well, it never happened. So, but it's certainly something that millions of people wrestle with, and a lot of newborns have. And these new combination of drugs can eradicate it. So that's what they're thinking. So look it up. Good stuff. I love it when science for the win. Yay. But let's do this with cancer. What do you think, guys? Let's cure cancer.
That would be great.
Let's cure cancer. Fuck cancer. I was one of my dear friends and a girl I dated when I was in Canada. She just went through. She went from like a month to living perfectly normal, 33-year-old healthy, to being, you have breast cancer and we'll have to remove this. And how she went through it is like a total champ, like a total badass as she is, like, and turning it into like a complete, triumph story. But it's still, my friend. And when it's like, I'm like, ugh. And she has this very beautiful heart, so she's not of the aggressive mindset. I'm like, fuck cancer, let's just kill it. It's like enough people dying of this already. Come on, man, we can do this.
I thought actually the number of people. I am not a big fan of Western modalities for curing cancer, but I still was under the impression that some of the results were that we've actually made quite a bit of advance in some kinds of cancers. In
some, we have. It's some that are really quote unquote treatable, but this particular, I learned a lot about breast cancer the last 4 months of my life. Yeah. That and because I've never had anyone went through it, so it's like I've just been fortunate because being around a lot of people. I'm 55, so it's like you would think that would happen, but heart disease has been our genetic card. It's like, I hope there's only one that gets passed out because that's enough. Thank you very much. Yeah. Love to cure that one too. But that's a nasty one, but cancer's much worse to me. It's like, So anyway, on that cheery note, let's cure cancer. You guys want to head over to the actual blueprint, and we'll dive in, and we'll come back and we'll have conversations on curing cancer on our next call on Friday.
We'll have the cure by tomorrow. By next
I'd love to do that. And if anyone's got any kind of miracle cure, it could be woo, it could be prayer. I'm going to direct you to the nearest children's hospital right down the street in Santa Barbara. There's a whole ward of them. Go there. That's what, there, because they deserve it. Let's let them go. We want these guys to live. So.
I once was forwarded a funnel from this hospital in Mexico that supposedly treats cancer with like good diet and exercise and stuff like that with organic foods. They had like page after page after page of testimonial. I don't remember what it's called. I don't know if it's woo-woo or just foods can poison, foods can grow.
There's a component to it, but it's there's got to be more to it. I know people that, well, the lady who brought veganism to the United States, she died of colon cancer. So it's not. That's there. Yeah, there's more to it than that, and I think there's mindset to it. But let's meet over at the other place, and we'll cure cancer on Friday. Okay, guys.
Yeah.